Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to completely unpack the hidden blueprint behind literally almost every purchase we make. We're diving deep into the architecture of irrational pricing, which is this incredibly fascinating look at how modern pricing strategists basically map out our minds to figure out exactly what we're willing to pay.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Think about the last time you bought something. Something major. You probably weighed the pros and cons, checked out all the features, compared the costs, and made a perfectly logical, completely calculated decision, right? Well, what if I told you that our absolute belief in our own logic as buyers is actually kind of just an illusion?
To see exactly why that is, we've got to look at the very foundation of this strategy. Section 1, the irrational consumer psyche.
So when we talk about the consumer psyche, we're definitely not talking about some perfectly rational calculator. Our core decision-making process is fundamentally irrational. Really take a second to reflect on that. We aren't just making a mistake here or there. Irrationality is basically the default operating system of our brains when we buy things. It's all driven by emotions, hidden biases, and impulses that are happening completely beneath the surface of our conscious, logical minds.
And acknowledging this, it isn't just a neat little psychological quirk, it's the absolute starting line for businesses. If a company tries to treat you like a purely logical machine, like a robot, just weighing features and pennies, their whole pricing structure is gonna completely fail. They have to start by accepting the beautifully messy, totally irrational reality of human choice. Because that human brain, with all its emotional triggers, that is the real target.
Let's move on and see how this builds into what businesses are actually selling us. Section 2, winning value propositions. Now, what's really interesting about this sequence is how it all connects. Step 1, understand the consumer psyche. Step 2, acknowledge that irrationality we just talked about. And then, and really only then, Step 3, develop winning value propositions. The features of the products you absolutely love, they weren't just thrown together for pure utility. No way. They were engineered to appeal directly to your specific irrational quirks. Think about, those limited time offers or that super premium prestige packaging. These are features totally crafted for your emotions, and then they're rigorously tested out there in the real market. It's a super clear, step-by-step framework. You literally don't just jump straight to slapping a price tag on a product. Step 1, you map out human thought. Step 2, you develop the value propositions and features that trigger those exact thoughts. And finally, Step 3, you set the right price based on those specific market tests. It's a highly structured, almost scientific approach to our totally unstructured minds. You build the emotional hook first, and then you price it second.
Which brings us to the final and really the most critical phase where all this theory turns into real-world execution, Section 3, applying behavioral insights.
Now there's a massive trap here that businesses fall into. Going beyond just the psychological perspective of pricing strategy is absolutely critical. A lot of folks think just having that psychological perspective is enough, but simply knowing how the brain works or just passively observing human quirks, that is not going to drive sales. Just knowing your customer's emotional doesn't automatically put a compelling price tag on a shelf.
So the crucial point is, there's a hard line drawn right here. On one side, you've got the psychological perspective, which is basically just understanding that the bridge exists. But on the other side, you have the application of behavioral insights. It's the difference between, just standing there looking at the architecture versus actually building the mechanics and driving a truck across it to get a result. You have to actively turn that psychology into actual revenue.
Because the ultimate goal of this entire architecture isn't just to understand you, it's to actually apply that irrational human behavior into setting the exact right price. They take our irrationality, they harness it, and they use it as the literal mechanism to pinpoint that perfect, precise price point, the one that makes the logical part of your brain just sort of quiet down and makes you click buy. It's all about leveraging those emotional triggers to make a price feel undeniably right to you, regardless of what the actual math says.
So it all boils down to this one simple, unyielding rule in modern pricing. The application of behavioral insights is used, period. It's not just some passive theory sitting in a marketing textbook anymore. It is active, behavioral execution, and it's the absolute industry standard for anyone who is seriously trying to win your business. All right, so we've seen how modern pricing strategies totally map out the consumer psyche, how they connect our irrationality to product features, and how they aggressively apply those behavioral insights to set that final price. So I'm going to leave you with this. Knowing that this entire deliberate architecture exists specifically to harness your irrationality, The next time you're checking out at the store or adding something to your online cart, are you still entirely sure you're a rational buyer? Keep that in mind on your next shopping trip. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning what's really behind the price tag.